Hello everyone, welcome to Empower Fantastic Life. Find your power, live without limits. Today, we're going to dive into a really transformative idea, one that honestly challenges almost everything we've been taught about money and saving. We're talking about the concept of dying with zero.
So let's just start with a question that might hit close to home. You're working hard, you're building a career, you're saving diligently, you're doing everything right, aren't you? But what if you're pouring all that energy into a tomorrow that just keeps getting pushed further and further away? It's a surprisingly common trap for so many of us.
I mean, from a young age, we are all taught to save up and delay gratification. It's seen as a virtue. But what if taking that to the extreme actually means you're wasting your most valuable, non-refundable resource, and that's your life's energy? This is the whole idea behind the book Die with Zero. It argues that dying with a huge bank account isn't a success story. It's actually a sign of missed opportunities.
And this brings us right to our first big idea. We need to redefine the goal of wealth. It's not about hitting some magic number in your bank account. It's about what that money can do for you, specifically in terms of the life experiences it can unlock. You know, this really reframes what financial freedom truly is. It's not about just watching numbers go up on a screen. It's about having the power, the resources to actively fund the experiences that bring you and your loved ones real joy and fulfillment.
So, this leads to a pretty fascinating concept that the book calls memory dividends. Now, we all know about financial dividends, right? The payouts you get from stocks. But what if our memories paid us back in the exact same way? These are investments that never show up on a balance sheet, but they might just be the most valuable ones you ever make.
Okay, so here's the crucial point. A memory dividend is the joy you get from reliving a great experience. Just think about a fantastic trip you took years ago. You get the initial joy of the trip itself, of course, but then for the rest of your life, you get to enjoy telling that story, looking at the photos, and just smiling when you remember it. That ongoing joy, that's the dividend. And believe it or not, it compounds.
And this is exactly where timing becomes so critical. Let's say you go backpacking through Europe when you're 30. You could be enjoying those memory dividends for over 50 years. But if you wait until you're 70 to take that luxury cruise, you might only have 15 years, maybe a little more. The payout period for that memory is just so much shorter, which makes that earlier investment way more valuable in the long run.
So how do we actually put this into practice? Well, we can use a framework called strategic time buckets. And this is all about being really honest with yourself about your dreams and understanding that, like it or not, a lot of them have an expiration date that's tied to your life's resources.
This timeline really shows the trade-offs we all face. In our 20s, we've got great health and plenty of time, but usually not much money. By our 40s, we probably have the money, but our time is incredibly scarce. And then by our 60s, we might have both time and money, but our health could be declining. The key here is matching the right experience to the right stage of life.
So I really want you to think about your own dream list for a moment. Does it include something like physically demanding travel? That belongs in your youth bucket for sure. What about taking a whole year off with your young kids for a family sabbatical? That has a very, very specific window. Some experiences, like a luxury cruise, can probably wait. The big mistake is thinking that they all can.
Okay, this next idea might be the most radical one of all. Instead of planning for your net worth to just keep growing and growing until you die, this approach suggests planning for a peak. And after you hit that peak, you strategically, intentionally start spending down your assets on experiences. It's a total shift from accumulation to what's called decumulation.
This chart really visualizes the idea perfectly. Your net worth grows during your prime earning years, but you actually plan for a peak, let's say around age 55 or 60. After that, the goal isn't to grow the pile bigger, the goal is to convert that pile into the life you want, aiming for near zero by the very end. The money you worked so hard to save is meant to be used, not just counted.
And I know what you might be thinking. What about leaving money for my family? This philosophy has a really powerful answer for that too. Don't wait. The most impactful time to give money to your children is when they're in their 20s and 30s, when they're starting their own families, buying their first home, or maybe launching a business. A significant gift at age 30 can be absolutely life-changing. That same amount of money when they inherit it at 60, it's far, far less impactful. It's about maximizing the utility of your money across your entire family's timeline.
So, how do you actually get started with all this? It can sound a bit overwhelming, but here's an immediate 3-step action list you can use to begin living a richer, more intentional life starting right now.
Okay, first, stop thinking vaguely about someday.
Actually sit down and write out your dream experience list. Get specific. Second, sort that list into those time buckets we talked about. Be brutally honest about which ones are time sensitive. And third, if you have a family, you have to start the conversation. Talk about what a meaningful life looks like and how you can use your shared resources together to make it happen.
As you start to consider all this, you might feel some fear. That's natural, the fear of not having enough money. But I want you to consider the alternative cost. Imagine being 80 years old, sitting on a huge pile of money, but filled with regret for all the experiences you never had. That is a cost that no amount of money can ever refund.
So I'll leave you with this one final question to think about. Looking at your life and your resources right now, what is the very next life experience you are going to invest in? What memory dividend are you going to create for your future self? You've been listening to Empower Fantastic Life, Jaeger Empowerment Academy. See you next time. Bye-bye.